When I turned 69, I decorated the table. No one came. That same night, my daughter emptied my savings account. I'm glad you're here. Follow my story until the end. And tell me where you're watching from. I want to see how far this truth will travel. I had been waiting for this day. My 69th birthday. Not a grand milestone, but to me, it mattered. I told myself this year, they will come. This year will be different. The house smelled of roast chicken. The cinnamon pie cooling by the window. Fresh daisies lined the center of the dining table. 8 place settings. One for each seat I believed would be filled. I polished the silver forks my husband once bought me on our 25th anniversary. He's been gone 5 years now. But I still keep his chair at the table, facing mine. I smoothed the lace tablecloth, the same one we used when the children were small. Back then, laughter spilled across these walls. Back then, birthdays meant something. At 6 o'clock, I lit the candles. I checked my phone. No messages. But I smiled anyway. They must be on their way. Maybe traffic. I adjusted my navy dress. The one my late husband always said made me look elegant. I wanted to look my best. For them. For my family. I looked around the room. The polished oak table. The china plates. The birthday cake waiting untouched. Chocolate with vanilla frosting. The kind my daughter loved as a girl. By 6:30, the candles had burned low. Still no one at the door. I dialed my daughter's number. Straight to voicemail. I tried my son-in-law. No answer. I poured myself a glass of water to calm the shaking in my hands. This happens, I told myself. They'll be here soon. At 7 o'clock, I sat down at the head of the table. The silence pressed in. Too heavy. Too sharp. I checked my phone again. Still nothing. At 7:30, I blew out the candles myself, whispering, "Happy birthday, Loretta." The food was cold. The pie untouched. The cake perfect but useless. I waited until 8 o'clock, my heart sinking with every minute. No one came. And then I made the mistake of opening Facebook. The first photo stopped my breath. There they were. My daughter, her husband, my 2 grandchildren, all dressed up, smiling at a restaurant table. The caption read, "Grateful for this amazing family night together." Everyone was there. Everyone except me. I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. Their smiles so bright, so effortless. Like I had never existed. The same night I was sitting in silence, they were raising glasses of wine. Celebrating without me. The roast sat untouched. The cake untouched. The chair across from me empty, yet suddenly filled with the weight of truth. Something inside me cracked. Not shattered. Just cracked. Like ice when the lake begins to thaw. I whispered into the silence they didn't forget. They chose. And that choice I didn't yet know would cost me more than a birthday. It would cost me my savings. My trust. Almost everything. But that night, all I had was silence. And the glow of a phone screen telling me what I had become. An afterthought. An outsider. To my own family. And I felt the room close in. The air too heavy to breathe. The walls holding secrets I had yet to uncover. So I sat there, in my navy dress. Beside the birthday cake, no one touched. My hands resting on the tablecloth, my eyes fixed on the empty chairs, and the question echoing inside me. If your family leaves you behind, are they still family? The house was silent. Too silent. only the faint tick of the grandfather clock in the hallway. I sat frozen at the table, my phone still glowing in my hand. I scrolled further. Another picture. My granddaughter Emma blowing out a candle on a dessert. Her smile wide, her small hands clapping. The caption read, "So blessed to celebrate tonight. Family is everything. Family is everything." The words cut like glass. Because I was not there. Because to them, I was not part of everything. I zoomed in. Behind them, balloons in the restaurant corner. A cake with 3 layers. Not mine. Not the one I baked all morning. I leaned back in my chair. The lace tablecloth brushed my wrists. Suddenly, it felt suffocating. I pulled the candles out, snuffed them one by one. Each puff of smoke felt like another nail in the coffin of what I believed family meant. At 9 o'clock, my phone buzzed. It was a message from my daughter. "Sorry, Mom. We had to step out. Hope you had a good night. Love you." 4 sentences. Cold. Empty. I typed back, "Did you forget it's my birthday?" The dots appeared, then disappeared. No reply. I sat in the dim kitchen light. The roast chicken cooled on the counter, the chocolate cake untouched. I wrapped it in plastic, wrapped my hands trembling. I placed it in the fridge, closed the door. The hum of the appliance was louder than my own breathing. Memories pressed in. Last Thanksgiving, she told me they had a quiet dinner at home. Later, I saw photos online. A big table, her husband's family gathered a turkey twice the size of mine. Christmas before that, she said they were traveling. No invitation for me. But the photos showed them here in town. Just not with me. And now, my birthday. The pattern was too clear. I went upstairs, changed out of my navy dress, folded it carefully, laid it across the bed, my husband's old reading glasses still on the nightstand. The room smelled faintly of the cologne he used to wear. I sat at the edge of the bed, whispered to the silence, "Robert, why do they hate me so much?" But silence does not answer. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the blinds. I moved like a ghost through the house, washed the dishes that no one had used, wiped the table that no one had touched. I tried to tell myself it's just a mistake. They love me deep down. They must. But the ache in my chest said otherwise. Around noon, my phone rang. Her voice was sweet. Too sweet. "Hi, Mom. Sorry, we missed last night. The kids were tired, so we did something small instead." Something small. The restaurant photos flashed in my mind. The balloons. The cake. The family smiles. I swallowed. "Was it nice?" She hesitated. "Yes, it was simple. You know, just us." Just us. As if I wasn't part of that us. I wanted to ask why lie, why erase me. But instead I said, well, the roast is still here. The cake, too. If you'd like to stop by later. Silence. Then maybe another time, Mom. We're busy this week. Busy. Always busy. After the call, I sat at the kitchen table.
Hold out the old family photo album.
On the first page, a picture of her at 6. Gap-toothed smile. Birthday candles in front of her. I remembered the smell of frosting. The sound of children laughing. The way she clapped her hands, shouting, "Mom, you're the best." Now she didn't even bring me a slice of cake. I closed the album. The house felt colder. The walls closer. I brewed tea. Sat by the window. stared at the garden I had planted years ago. Robert and I used to work on it together. Roses, tulips, lavender. He called it my sanctuary. Now it felt like a cage. That night, as I balanced my checkbook, something strange caught my eye. The balance was lower. Much lower than it should have been. I frowned. Checked the transactions. Withdrawals I didn't recognize. Large amounts. Spread across weeks. Almost as if someone had been skimming. A chill ran down my spine. I grabbed my glasses, leaned closer, and then I saw it. Her name on the authorization. My daughter. My heart pounded in my chest. I double-checked. Again and again. The same result. Money missing, savings drained, and my own daughter's signature beside each withdrawal. My throat went dry. The room tilted. The truth was too heavy to carry. It wasn't just my birthday she erased. It wasn't just family gatherings. She had been erasing me from my own life, piece by piece, dollar by dollar, memory by memory. I sat at the table long after midnight. The documents spread before me, the silence thick like a weight pressing on my chest. And for the first time in years, I felt not just forgotten, but betrayed. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, the numbers returned. Withdrawals. Large. Frequent. Each one signed with her name. My daughter's name. At sunrise, I made coffee I didn't drink. The mug sat untouched steam curling into the still air. My hands shook. I knew what I had to do. The bank. By 9 o'clock, I was sitting in the small office of First National Bank. The manager, Mrs. Stevens, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a sharp suit, looked at me with polite concern. "How can I help you today, Mrs. Brooks?" I slid the checkbook across the desk. My account. The balance isn't right. I think something's wrong. She typed quickly. The computer screen glowed. Her brow furrowed. "Oh my," she whispered. "There have been several large withdrawals. Over the past few months." I swallowed. "I didn't make them." Her eyes softened. "Do you recognize this signature?" She turned the paper toward me. There it was the name, my daughter's handwriting. I closed my eyes. The room spun. "Yes," I whispered. "It's hers." Mrs. Stevens leaned forward. "Did you give her permission?" My voice cracked. "No, never." "Mrs. Brooks, I have to be honest." She presented a letter of authorization. Said you were ill. Said she was helping manage your finances. The words struck like blows. "She told you I was sick." "Yes." "She said you asked her to step in." I pressed a trembling hand to my chest. "That's a lie. I never asked. I'm not sick. Not in that way." Mrs. Stevens hesitated. Then she pulled another sheet from a file. "This is the authorization form she signed." My heart thudded in my ears. The handwriting looked like mine, but it wasn't. Not quite. "She forged it," I whispered. Mrs. Stevens nodded slowly. "I'm afraid so." I sat in silence. The hum of the computer filled the room. Outside, a lawnmower droned faintly. "How much is gone?" I asked. Her voice was gentle. "Almost $80,000. The number hit me like cold water. 80,000. The savings Robert and I built over 30 years of work. Gone. I clutched my purse tighter. Memories swirled. Robert balancing the checkbook at the kitchen table. His voice saying, "This is for later, Loretta. So you'll always be safe." Safe. That was the promise. And now our daughter had broken it. Mrs. Stevens lowered her voice. "You have options. We can open an investigation, but it may involve law enforcement." Law enforcement. The words echoed in my mind, turning against my own child. Was I strong enough for that? My throat closed. Tears burned the corners of my eyes. I need time to think." She nodded kindly. "Of course. Take these copies. Look them over. And call me when you're ready." I left the bank, clutching a folder. The papers inside felt heavy. Heavier than bricks. The August sun blazed overhead, but I felt cold. So cold. I walked slowly to my car. Each step felt like dragging chains. At home, I sat at the dining table, spread the documents in front of me. Each page was another wound, another betrayal. Her signature, her lies, her theft. I traced the lines with my finger, my daughter's name written again and again like a knife carving through my life. That evening, my phone rang. Her name lit the screen. I stared at it, my chest tight. Finally, I answered. "Hi, Mom," she said brightly. "How are you feeling today?" Feeling the word twisted in my gut. I wanted to shout, to demand answers. But instead, my voice came out calm. Too calm. "I went to the bank." Silence. Then a nervous laugh. "Oh, why'd you do that?" "I saw the withdrawals." Her breath caught. Just for a second. Then she recovered. "Mom, you must be mistaken." "I was just helping." "You said it was hard keeping track." "No," I said firmly. "I never said that." "You forged my signature." Her voice sharpened. "Mom, listen, I was only trying to make sure everything was handled." "You know I love you." Love. She used that word like a shield. But love doesn't empty a savings account. Love doesn't erase a mother. I gripped the phone tighter, my knuckles white. "You lied to them. You told them I was sick. You took what your father and I worked for. Everything he wanted me to have. Safe. Secure. Silence on the other end. Then, in the faintest whisper you weren't supposed to find out, the world went still. Even the clock seemed to stop ticking. Tears blurred my vision. I whispered into the phone, "Why, Anna? Why would you do this to me?" No answer. Just a shallow breath. Then the line went dead. I sat in the dark. The phone slipped from my hand. The papers spread across the table. The candles from last night, still there, burned to nothing. I stared at the empty chairs, the untouched cake in the fridge, the garden outside the window.
And I knew my family had turned into strangers.
That night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. One truth circled in my mind over and over. I had not just lost a birthday. I had lost my daughter. And she had stolen far more than money. She had stolen my trust, my safety, my belief that family meant protection. Now all I had left was betrayal. The night stretched long. I lay in bed, eyes fixed on the ceiling, but my mind refused to rest. Every sound of the house felt louder than before. The creak of the pipes, the hum of the refrigerator, the hollow tick of the clock. all of it pressing down, reminding me I was alone. At 2 a.m., I rose quietly, went downstairs. The dining room still held the papers from the bank. I sat. The lamp cast shadows over the forged signatures, her name repeated again and again. Anna. My daughter. My little girl who once brought me dandelions from the yard saying they're flowers to Mom. How had she turned into this? I traced my finger over the signatures. Each curve of ink felt like betrayal carved in stone. And yet, underneath the grief, something else stirred. Anger. Hot. Sharp. Unfamiliar. It was the kind of anger that wakes a person up, that whispers no more. By morning, I decided to act. I pulled out a box from the hall closet. Inside, old receipts, insurance papers, the deeds Robert and I saved. I spread them on the table, the weight of decades. Every document proof that I had built this life honestly, carefully, brick by brick. I whispered to myself, she can't erase me. At noon, the phone rang again. Anna. I answered slowly. Her tone was sharp this time. Mom, you need to stop this. You don't understand. The money is safe with me. You weren't managing it well. My jaw tightened. You stole it. Don't call it helping. She sighed loudly. Do you want to end up broke, confused? You're not getting any younger. I did what's best. What's best? For who? I steadied my voice. What's best is honesty. What's best is respect. You gave me neither. Silence. Then she snapped, fine. If you want to drag this out, go ahead. But don't forget, I'm your only child. Who else will take care of you? The words stung. Not because they were true, but because she believed control equaled love. I whispered, I'll take care of myself. And I hung up. The quiet afterward felt like oxygen. Painful, but clean. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for her approval. I wasn't hoping she'd change. I was done. That evening, I called Martin. Robert's old friend, a retired attorney who once helped us draft our wills. His voice was warm. Loretta, it's been a while. How are you? My throat tightened. I'm not okay, Martin. I need help. I think she's stolen from me. There was a pause. Then his voice grew firm. Come by tomorrow. Bring everything you have. We'll go through it together. After the call, I felt lighter. Not healed, but steady. For the first time in days, I had a plan. Later, I stood by the kitchen window. The garden shimmered in moonlight. The roses Robert planted still bloomed, their petals soft and defiant. I pressed my hand to the glass. Help me, Robert. Guide me through this. A breeze stirred outside, almost as if in answer. That night, I slept. Not peacefully, but with a kind of resolve. Because grief had turned to anger, and anger had turned to something else. Determination. The next morning, I packed the folder. Bank statements. Authorization forms. Every piece of proof I had. I slipped on my navy coat. The one Robert once said made me look strong. Because today, I wasn't just a forgotten mother. I was a woman ready to fight. On the drive to Martin's office, the streets looked different. Sharper. Every store, every lamppost, every turn of the road felt like part of a world I was stepping back into. No longer invisible. No longer erased. When I arrived, Martin welcomed me in. His office smelled of old books and coffee. He gestured to the chair across from him. Show me everything he said. I laid out the papers, one by one, explained what I'd found, explained what she said. He listened, silent, eyes sharp. Finally, he leaned back. Loretta, this isn't just family drama. This is fraud. The word echoed. Fraud. Cold but true. He continued. She forged your signature. She lied to the bank. She emptied your account. Legally, you have every right to fight this. I nodded slowly. The words sank in, heavy but empowering. Martin leaned forward. One question, Loretta. Do you want to pursue this? It won't be easy, and it will mean standing against your own daughter. I stared at the papers, at her name scrawled again and again, at the years of sacrifice Robert and I made. Then I looked up, my voice steady. Yes, I want to pursue it. Martin gave a single nod. Then we start today. And just like that, the tide shifted. For years, I had been silent,
Overlooked.
dismissed, but not anymore. Now I was ready to reclaim what was mine, and no amount of betrayal would stop me. Martin spread the papers across his desk. His finger tapped the forged authorization. Loretta, this isn't just sloppy paperwork. This is deliberate. Calculated. I felt my throat tighten. I knew it. I felt it in my bones. But seeing it, my voice cracked. It hurts in a way I can't describe. Martin's eyes softened. Your husband trusted me. He told me once, if anything happens to me, make sure Loretta is safe. I bit my lip. Robert's memory was like a knife wrapped in silk, comforting and painful all at once. I thought Anna would be my safe place, I whispered. Instead, she became the storm. Martin cleared his throat. I'll need copies of everything. We'll request the bank's surveillance footage. And Loretta, we may need to subpoena records. The word felt heavy. Subpoena. Against my own daughter. He leaned closer. You didn't choose this. She did. You're not betraying her. She betrayed you. I let the words settle, like stones sinking into a deep well. By afternoon, I was home again. The house quiet, except for the crinkle of paper as I organized documents. Check stubs, savings bonds, old insurance policies, every scrap of proof that this life was mine. I spread them out on the dining table,
The same table where I had waited for her.
the same table that now bore witness to my fight. The phone buzzed. A text from Anna. Mom, stop digging! You're making a mistake. I stared at the words. Her tone had shifted. No longer sweet. Now it was a warning. I typed back the only mistake was trusting you. I hit send. My hands shook, but my heart felt steady. Later that night, I opened my laptop, scrolled through months of emails. Bills, zills, statements, receipts. Then I saw it, an email I hadn't noticed before, from the bank, addressed to me.
But forwarded to her.
The subject line read confirmation of account update. The pit of my stomach dropped. I clicked. Inside it confirmed a new routing number. Not mine. And at the bottom, a note per request by your daughter Anna Brooks. My chest tightened. She hadn't just forged signatures. She rerouted my money to her own account. I printed the email, held the page in my hands. The ink smeared slightly from my tears. I whispered, Robert, she's been stealing from me for years. And I never saw it. The weight of shame pressed down. But beneath it, a spark of resolve grew stronger. The next morning, I met Martin again. He studied the email. This is it. This is the smoking gun. We can trace where the money went. There's no way she can deny this. I sank into the chair. Martin, when this becomes public, there's no going back. The family will know. The neighbors will know. He placed his hand gently on mine. Loretta, the truth is already here. The only question is, will you fight it or let it bury you? I nodded slowly. The decision hardened in me like concrete setting. I'll fight. That evening I sat in the garden. The roses swayed gently in the August breeze. I remembered Anna as a child, running through this very garden picking tulips, laughing as Robert chased her. The memory ached. But I whispered to the flowers, she may have stolen my money, but she won't steal who I am. As the sun dipped low, I went inside. Made tea. Sat by the window with the folder. Each page of evidence felt like a weapon, not of violence, but of truth. And I promised myself the next time Anna looked me in the eye, she would know I was no longer her victim. But a question haunted me still. Could a mother ever truly win against her own child? Or would victory feel too much like loss? I didn't sleep that night. The papers lay spread on the table like silent witnesses. Each line of text, each forged signature, each false authorization. Proof undeniable. And yet, I still wanted to hear her voice, to give her one last chance to explain. At 9 a.m., I called Anna. Her tone was clipped. Mom, why are you doing this? I took a slow breath. Because you left me no choice. Silence crackled on the line. Come over, I said firmly. We need to talk. Face to face. By noon, her car pulled into the driveway. I watched from the window. She stepped out, designer handbag slung over her shoulder heels, clicking on the pavement. Not the daughter who once scraped her knees in this yard. This was someone else. Someone hardened. She entered without knocking. The smell of expensive perfume preceded her. She glanced at the papers on the table. Her smile was tight. Really, Mom, dragging this out like some courtroom drama. I stood tall. This isn't drama, Anna. This is my life. And you stole it? Her eyes narrowed. I didn't steal. I managed. You're too trusting, too old-fashioned. I was protecting you. Protecting me, my voice shook with anger. You emptied my savings. You told the bank I was sick. You forged my name. She rolled her eyes. Mom, please. No one got hurt. The money's still in the family. You act like I burned it all. My hands clenched. In the family, you spent it on yourself. The clothes. The vacations. The photos you post online. Her face flushed. You don't understand. You don't know what it's like to keep everything together. Do you think Dad left us enough? Do you think you could survive on that alone? The words hit like slaps. She said Dad as if he had failed us. Robert, who worked 2 jobs, who skipped meals so we could save, who built this house with his own hands. I shook my head. Don't you dare use his name to excuse your theft. For the first time, her voice cracked. Mom, I just wanted more. For me. For the kids. Why should we struggle when you have money sitting there? Tears stung my eyes. It wasn't sitting there. It was waiting. For emergencies. For my safety. For the life your father wanted for me. Her lips trembled, but then she straightened. So, what are you going to call the police? Turn your only daughter into a criminal? The words hung heavy in the room. I looked at her, really looked. And for the first time, I saw not my child, but a woman who had chosen greed over love. I whispered, "You already did that yourself." Her eyes widened. For a split second, I saw guilt. Then it hardened into anger. Fine. If you want to make this ugly, go ahead. But don't expect me to crawl back. She grabbed her purse, marched toward the door. At the threshold, she turned. Remember this, Mom? You'll regret choosing strangers over your own blood. And then she was gone. The silence after her departure was deafening. I sank into a chair. My heart pounded. My hands trembled. For years, I had begged for her attention, her presence, her love. Now I begged for none of it, because I had seen the truth. Later, I called Martin, told him everything. His voice was steady. She won't stop Loretta. Not unless we make her. I stared at the empty chair across the table. Robert's chair. I whispered, "I'm ready." That evening, I opened the fridge. The birthday cake still sat inside, wrapped in plastic, untouched. I carried it to the trash bin, dropped it in. The sound hollow. "Final," I murmured, "Happy birthday, Loretta." No more waiting. No more silence. I walked to the mirror, looked at my reflection. My hair silver, my eyes lined with age, but behind them a fire I hadn't seen in years. I whispered, "She may have taken my money, but she won't take my will. She won't take my voice." And for the first time, I believed it. The door slammed shut behind her. The echo lingered longer than it should have. For a moment, I sat frozen. Her perfume still hung in the air, sharp, unfamiliar. Not the scent of my daughter. Not anymore. I rose slowly, my knees stiff. Walked back to the table. The papers lay scattered. The evidence of betrayal. I gathered them carefully, slipped them back into the folder. This time, I wasn't just a mother grieving. I was a woman preparing for war. By afternoon, I was in Martin's office again. He looked up as I entered. His eyes scanned my face. "You saw her." I nodded. She didn't deny it. "Not really." She twisted it, called it protection. His jaw tightened. That's how it often begins. Manipulation wrapped in care. But theft is theft. I placed the folder on his desk. Do whatever it takes. I'm ready now. He studied me. "Loretta, this path will hurt. It will tear apart what's left of your family." I met his gaze. My family was torn apart the moment she signed my name. The moment she told strangers I was sick. Helpless? Disposable. Martin leaned back. "Then we move forward. First, we'll file a claim with the bank. Then, a civil suit. If necessary, criminal charges." The words hung heavy. Criminal charges. Against Anna. I pressed my hands together. Whispered, "So be it." For days, I gathered everything. Bank statements, emails, the forged letters, even old texts where she hinted at managing my finances. Each page felt like ripping open a wound. But I kept going, because every wound was proof. At night, I sat alone in the living room, the lamp casting warm light on cold truths. I thought of Robert, of the life we built, of the promise that I'd be safe, and I promised him in return I will not let her erase us. I will not let her destroy what you left behind. The first official step came with a letter. Martin drafted it. Sharp, professional, unmistakable. On behalf of our client, Loretta Brooks, we demand immediate restitution. I held the letter in my hands. The paper trembled slightly. Not from fear, from resolve. This is it, I whispered. No turning back. A week later, Anna called. Her voice was furious. How dare you bring lawyers into this? Do you want to humiliate me? Do you want to destroy your own family? I closed my eyes, took a steady breath. You destroyed it, Anna. I'm only protecting what's left. She hissed into the phone. You think you can win your week, Mom? You don't know how the world works. I do. And I'm not giving anything back. Then she hung up. The silence afterward was louder than her anger. Martin wasn't surprised. She'll push back. She'll threaten. But that's fear talking. Fear of losing control. I nodded. I've lived under her shadow long enough. It's time she lives under truth. That night, I opened the fridge again. The roast chicken long gone. The birthday cake gone too. I pulled out fresh bread, made myself a simple sandwich, sat alone at the table. And for the first time, the emptiness didn't crush me. Because I wasn't waiting anymore. I wasn't begging for company that never came. I was building a new kind of strength. Days turned into weeks. The process moved slowly. Depositions. Letters exchanged. Bank officials questioned. Each step carved deeper. Each step made it more real. And though it hurt, it also healed, because the silence in my house was no longer absence. It was space, room to breathe, room to fight. One evening, as I sorted through papers, I found an old photograph. Anna at 10 years old, her arms around Robert's neck, both of them laughing, pure, untouched by greed. I pressed the photo to my chest, whispered, "Where did you go, my child?" Tears spilled. But I let them come, because grief meant I still cared. And caring didn't make me weak. It made me human. I set the photo aside, wiped my eyes, and said aloud to the empty room, she may have chosen betrayal, but I choose myself. The words echoed, not hollow, not broken, but strong. And in that moment I knew. The fight had only just begun. The days after the letter felt heavier than before. Not quieter, heavier. Because silence was no longer absence. It was tension. A storm waiting to break. It broke 3 nights later. My phone buzzed at midnight. A message from Anna. Long. Venomous. You're selfish. After everything I've done, you repay me with betrayal. You don't deserve that money. You're wasting it. I'm the one with kids. I'm the one with a future. You should be thanking me. I stared at the words, hands trembling. Then another message. If you keep this up, you'll lose me forever. I set the phone down, closed my eyes. The tears came uninvited, because a mother never stops being a mother, even when her child becomes her enemy. I whispered to the empty room, "Robert, how do I fight my own blood?" but the silence gave no answer. The next morning, I showed Martin the messages. He read them carefully, his jaw clenched. She's trying to intimidate you. Don't let her. I shook my head. She doesn't sound like my daughter anymore. She sounds like a stranger. Martin looked at me kindly. Sometimes strangers wear familiar faces. That doesn't make their betrayal any less real. That afternoon, there was a knock at my door. I opened it and froze. 2 envelopes sat on the porch, one official looking, one handwritten. I picked them up. My hands shook as I opened the first. A counterclaim filed by Anna, accusing me of incompetence, of mismanaging my own finances, of being unfit to handle money. My throat closed. The words blurred. Unfit. Incompetent. As if I were already fading. The second envelope was worse. Inside, a photo of my garden, taken at night. The roses barely visible in the flash. No explanation. Just proof that someone had stood outside my home, watching. A chill raced down my spine. She wanted me to be afraid. And for a moment, it worked. That night, I locked every window, every door, sat with the lights on until dawn broke. But beneath the fear, a different fire smoldered. If she wanted war, then war is what she would get. The next day, I marched into Martin's office, slammed the envelopes on his desk. He studied them. His face hardened. She's escalating, trying to rattle you. Well, it worked, I admitted. But it also showed me something. She's desperate. Martin nodded slowly. Desperation leaves a trail, and we'll follow it. For hours, we built the case stronger. Bank records, emails, messages, even the threatening photo. Every piece another brick. A wall of truth. And with each brick, I felt myself stand taller. That evening, I returned home exhausted. Made tea. Sat at the table once more. I stared at the counterclaim papers, the cruel words printed in black ink. Words meant to erase me, and I whispered aloud, I am not erased. I am not invisible. I am Loretta Brooks, and I will not be destroyed by my own child. The words filled the room. For once, I didn't feel small. I felt heard. Later, I pulled out the old family album again, turned the pages slowly. Birthdays, holidays, moments frozen in time, smiles that felt so far away now. I touched one photo. Anna at 15, her arms wrapped around me. Both of us laughing. I whispered to that frozen girl, I loved you more than life. I still do. But I will not let you bury me. The wind howled outside. The house creaked. But inside, I felt something steady. Resolve. Because every threat she sent, every cruel word, every forged signature was proof. Proof that I had a story worth telling. Proof that I had a fight worth fighting. And I swore to myself, this will not end with fear. It will end with truth. The letter from the court arrived on a Tuesday morning. Heavy paper. Stamped in bold. A date circled in black ink. Hearing scheduled. It was no longer whispers between me and Martin.
No longer papers hidden in folders.
It was official. Public. Unavoidable. I sat at the table, the letter trembling in my hands. For years, this house had been my shelter. Now it felt like a stage. And soon everyone would know. The neighbors, the church ladies, even the cashier at the grocery store. They would all hear the same thing, a mother suing her daughter. Shame pressed against my chest, but beneath it something stronger. Relief, because finally the truth would not just sit in silence. It would stand in daylight. Martin called that afternoon. "Loretta, the court date is set. Anna will be summoned. Are you ready for that?" I swallowed hard. "No, but I'll be there anyway." He chuckled softly. That's all readiness really is. The days leading up to it were filled with preparation. Martin and I met often, reviewed every document, every signature, every withdrawal slip. He taught me how to answer questions, how to stay calm, how not to let her words break me. But at night, alone in bed, I still shook. Because this wasn't just law. It was blood. One evening, I walked to the mailbox. Inside was another envelope. Not official. Handwritten again. I opened it on the porch. Inside a single sheet. "You can still stop this. Drop the case, or you'll regret it." No name. No signature. But I didn't need one. My knees weakened. I gripped the railing for balance. For years, her threats had kept me silent. Now, they pushed me forward. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. I sat at the dining table again, the same place I had decorated for my birthday. The same candles. The same empty chairs. But this time, I wasn't waiting for her to arrive. I was preparing to face her. I whispered to the dark, "Robert, walk with me tomorrow. Let me carry your strength." And for the first time in months, I felt calm. The morning of the hearing, I wore my navy coat. The one Robert always liked. The one I wore when I first walked into Martin's office. It wasn't just fabric. It was armor. The courthouse smelled of polished wood and paper. The walls echoed with footsteps and whispers. Martin walked beside me. Steady. Grounded. We entered the small courtroom. Benches lined the sides. A judge's bench at the front. And there she was. Anna. Sitting across the room. Her arms crossed. Her lawyer whispering in her ear. She looked up. Our eyes met. For a moment, I searched her face. For the little girl who once held my hand. For the teenager who once cried on my shoulder. But I found none of her. Only steel. Only defiance. The judge entered. We all stood. My heart thundered in my chest. This was it. No more whispers. No more shadows. My pain had a voice now, and it would be heard. As the proceedings began, Martin presented our evidence. Bank statements, emails, authorization forms. The judge studied each one, her expression unreadable. Anna's lawyer objected often, but Martin stayed steady, precise, prepared. And me, I sat silently, hands clasped tight in my lap, eyes fixed on the truth laid bare. At one point, the judge turned to me. "Mrs. Brooks, did you authorize your daughter to access these funds?" I looked her in the eye. "No, Your Honor." "I did not. She forged my signature. She lied about my health. She stole what my husband and I built." My voice trembled, but it did not break. The room was silent. Even Anna's lawyer said nothing. When it was Anna's turn, she rose to speak. Her voice was sharp. "My mother is confused. She doesn't understand. I was helping her. She can't manage these accounts on her own." The words pierced me. not because they were true, but because she believed they might be. The judge asked, "Do you have documentation of this arrangement?" Anna hesitated, shuffled papers. But there was nothing. Only her words. Her lies? The hearing adjourned for the day. The decision would not come immediately. But as I walked out of that courthouse, the sunlight felt different. Warm. Solid. Because no matter what the outcome, I had spoken the truth. And truth once spoken cannot be taken back. That night, I stood in my garden. The roses swayed gently. Their petals glowed in the moonlight. I whispered to them. She tried to cut me down. But I'm still here. I am still rooted. And for the first time, I didn't feel alone. I felt free. The courthouse doors closed behind me. The air outside was bright, but I felt heavy. Each step down the stone stairs echoed like a reminder. This wasn't over. Not yet dead. The judge had heard the truth, but justice moved slowly, and silence filled the gaps in between. Martin walked beside me. "You did well, Loretta. Very well. You spoke clearly. You told your truth. That matters more than anything." I nodded, but my chest still felt tight. "I saw her face, Martin. She didn't look shaken. She looked confident, like she still holds all the cards." He sighed. "She's bluffing. Control is all she has left. The stronger your case, the harder she'll fight. That's how people like her survive." At home, the silence swallowed me whole. I hung my navy coat on the hook by the door. The house smelled faintly of old flowers. The roses Robert planted were fading in the vase on the counter. I touched the petals gently. Soft, brittle, fragile, like the part of me that still wanted to believe Anna could be saved. That night the phone rang again. Her number, Bumber. I hesitated, then answered. Her voice was soft this time. Too soft. "Mom, why are you doing this? Why are you dragging me through court? We could fix this quietly." "Just between us." I closed my eyes. "I gave you every chance. You chose this." She sighed. "I was scared, Mom. Scared of the future. Scared of losing everything. I only wanted to protect us." Her words were honey. Sweet, dripping, sticky, and dangerous. "Protect us," my voice trembled, but not from weakness. Protecting us doesn't mean lying. It doesn't mean forging my name. It doesn't mean draining what your father and I saved. There was a pause. Then her tone shifted. Cold. Dull. "Fine. If you want to paint me as a villain, go ahead. But when this is over, don't expect me to come back. Don't expect me to be your daughter anymore." The line went dead. I sat there, the silence pressing hard. The words cut deep. Because a mother's love isn't a switch you turn off. It's a thread woven into the soul. And even when that thread frays, even when it's stained, it still hurts to lose. Later, I poured myself a glass of water. My hands trembled as I held it. I caught my reflection in the kitchen window. Tired eyes. Lined face. But steady. I whispered to the glass, "She thinks I'll break. She doesn't know I've already been broken." And I survived. The next morning, Martin called. He'd received word Anna's lawyer was filing new motions. Delay tactics. Attempts to drain me of strength, of resources. I listened quietly, then said, "Let her. The more she delays, the more truth piles up against her. I'm not afraid of waiting, but waiting isn't easy." Nights grew longer. dreams grew darker. I dreamt of Robert standing at the end of the hallway. He never spoke. Just looked at me, his eyes filled with sorrow. I would wake, gasping, heart racing, reaching for a man long gone. One evening I went out to the garden. The air was cool. The roses swayed gently. I clipped a few, brought them inside, placed them in a new vase. Fresh, alive, unbroken. A reminder that even in seasons of loss, something always blooms again. I sat by the vase, the papers beside me, Anna's threats still echoing in my ears. And I realized something. For years, I had measured my worth by how much she needed me, by how much she loved me. But worth isn't borrowed. It isn't stolen. It isn't given by anyone else. Worth is mine. And it always was. I whispered to the flowers, she may walk away. She may never call me mom again. But I will still stand. And I will still live. The words steadied me. That night, I slept. Not dreamlessly, but with peace. Because no matter what she did next, I had already chosen my path. Truth, dignity, freedom, and those she could never steal. The courthouse was colder this time. Not in temperature, in silence. The kind of silence that feels like judgment before a word is spoken. I sat at the wooden table, Martin by my side, papers stacked neatly in front of us. Across the room, Anna. She wouldn't look at me. Not once. The judge called us to order. Anna's lawyer spoke first. His voice was smooth practiced. Your Honor, this is a case of misunderstanding. Of miscommunication between mother and daughter. There was no intent to harm. I felt my hands tighten in my lap. Miscommunication was forging my name, just a misunderstanding. Then Martin rose, calm, steady. He laid the papers down. This isn't miscommunication. This is deception. Deliberate. Repeated. He handed the judge the emails, the signatures, the withdrawals, the truth. The judge read silently. The only sound was the shuffle of papers. Anna shifted in her seat, crossed her arms, tossed her hair back like a teenager. But I saw her jaw tighten. For the first time, she didn't look so sure of herself. When it was my turn, the judge asked Mrs. Brooks, "What do you want from this case?" My throat tightened. I had rehearsed this. But now, in the silence, the words felt heavy. I looked at Anna, then back at the judge. I want my name back. I want the truth acknowledged. And I want to know that I will not spend the last years of my life erased by the one person I gave everything to. My voice cracked, but it did not break. The room stayed quiet. Even Anna's lawyer said nothing. For a moment, it felt like everyone could hear the years I had carried in silence. Then Anna stood, her voice sharp. This is ridiculous. She doesn't understand. She's old, she's fragile. I was helping her. If I didn't take charge, everything would fall apart. Her words spilled fast, too fast. The judge raised a hand. Miss Brooks, please answer only when asked. Anna sank back into her chair. Her cheeks flushed red. Martin leaned toward me, his voice low. She's unraveling. The more she talks, the more she shows the truth. I nodded, but inside my heart ached. Because even in her unraveling, she was still my daughter, and watching her collapse felt like breaking myself in two. By mid-afternoon, the session ended. The judge would review all evidence. The decision would come soon. As we left, Anna brushed past me, her voice a hiss in my ear. "You think you've won? You haven't seen what I can do?" Her heels clicked on the courthouse floor. Sharp. Cold. Final. Outside, the sky had turned gray. Rain clouds heavy. Martin touched my shoulder. "Don't let her words shake you. Truth always outlives lies." I nodded, but my chest still ached. Because truth may outlive lies, but mothers don't outlive heartbreak. That evening, I sat at the kitchen table again. The vase of fresh roses stood in front of me, bright against the storm outside. I lit a single candle, watched the flame dance, and I whispered, "She can take my money. She can take my name, but she will never take my soul." The candle flickered like it was listening. Later, I opened the old family album again. But this time, I didn't stop at the pictures of Anna. I turned the pages all the way through. Robert? The children when they were small. Christmas mornings. Anniversaries. Vacations by the sea. Life. Full and messy and beautiful. I pressed my hand to the page, and for the first time I felt whole again. Because my story wasn't just betrayal. It was survival. It was love. It was me. The storm outside broke. Rain lashed against the windows. Thunder rolled in the distance. But inside I felt calm. Because storms pass. They always do. And when this one passed, I would still be standing. I whispered into the dark, "She may never call me Mom again. But I will never stop being Loretta Brooks. And I will never stop fighting for the life I built." The words echoed softly. Not fragile. Not broken. But strong. Unshakable. The final hearing came on a Thursday. The sky was clear. Too clear. As if the world refused to mirror the storm inside me. I walked into the courthouse, navy coat on my shoulders, head high. Martin walked beside me. "Today, Loretta, the weight shifts. Whatever happens, you've already won back your voice." I nodded, but my heart raced, because voices are fragile, and so are mothers. The judge entered. We all rose. The room was silent except for the scratching of her pen as she reviewed the papers before her. Finally, she looked up. "This court has reviewed the evidence. Bank records, signatures, testimonies. It is clear that Mrs. Brooks did not authorize her daughter Anna Brooks to access her accounts." My breath caught. The world seemed to hold still. The judge's voice was firm. "This court finds that Anna Brooks acted without consent and with intent to deceive. Restitution is ordered, full repayment of withdrawn funds, and transfer of account control back to Mrs. Brooks." Her gavel struck. Final. Sharp. Unmistakable. Across the room, Anna froze. Her face pale. Her lawyer whispered urgently, but she didn't move. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. Not regret. Not love. Just fear. I rose slowly. My knees shook, but my spirit did not. I turned to leave. For once, I didn't look back. Outside, the sunlight was warm. The sky wide. Martin smiled. "You did it." I shook my head softly. "No, Martin. The truth did it." I only finally had the courage to speak it. He placed a hand on my shoulder. Sometimes that's the hardest part. That evening, I sat alone in the kitchen. The vase of roses stood tall, fresh, alive. I poured myself tea. No candles, no waiting for knocks that never came. Just me. And for the first time, that was enough. I opened the old family album again, turned to the pages of Robert. Our wedding day. His smile wide, his hands holding mine. I whispered to the photo, I kept my promise, Robert. I fought for us. For what you built. For what we were. Tears filled my eyes. But this time, they weren't heavy. They were cleansing. Later, I walked out to the garden. The evening air was soft. The roses glowed in the fading light. I stood among them, breathed in their scent, and whispered she may have taken my money. She may have taken my daughterhood from me, but she will never take my soul. I am still here. I am still Loretta Brooks. The wind rustled the leaves, like an answer, like Robert himself nodding in the quiet. That night, I blew out the single candle on the table, the same one I lit weeks ago. The room went dark, but I didn't fear the darkness, because I had learned that silence is not absence. It is freedom. And as I closed my eyes, I asked the question that will never leave me. What do you do when the greatest betrayal comes not from strangers, but from the very blood you gave life to? Do you forgive, or do you finally set yourself free?